Okay, it might be going now. Mackenzie, can you check again? Oh, it's live now? Okay. Okay, someone just logged in. 9 Dimes just logged in. How's it going? Okay, sorry, we had some technical difficulties. Something changed with the YouTube interface there. I just had to figure that out. Okay, people are coming in now. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to wait a sec for people to come in. Sorry for being a little late. We had some problems with the YouTube interface here. Okay, pop out chat. Let's move it over here. Okay, dogs are going crazy. Okay, so I'm just going to wait a couple minutes since I was a little delayed on getting started, everyone. Sorry, YouTube changed something with the interface. And normally you get like your YouTube window for live streaming set up, and then you have a second program going that does the video encoding. And the second program for some reason was conflicting, so I had to like figure that out. So I've got my wife over here on the side. She's going to be helping me moderate. Do you want to at least leave and say hi real quick? Hi. Okay, yeah. She's a little camera shy, so she doesn't want to. Okay. So, sorry guys, just give us just a second. It's a little chaotic. The dogs are running around. Okay, Emma, Stu, stop. Calm down. Calm down. Okay, sorry. Mackenzie, everyone can hear you doing it. Okay, sorry, guys. Mackenzie.
For you.
No.
Here we go.
Oh my gosh. Just chaos. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Edwin, the Magic Engineer. Sorry, this is live stream number 2. We had some technical difficulties getting this started. YouTube changed something about the live stream. Normally, you have the YouTube application open, and you open the second application that does the actual video encoding, and the two of them synchronize with each other, and then it works. And now, this time, I don't need that second application. They integrated it right in, but they didn't make that very clear, so I took a sec to figure that out. So let's see. I see we've got 9 Dimes in here. We got Crazy Chess Player, Foggy 25, Carl. Oh, Froggy 25, Carl Champagne, and JJ, and Terry Feynman, and Eclipse Star, Albert Lund, Terry. Oh, there's Terry again. Lyracy 17, Bob Cross, Renee Nelson, Nicola is there again. Hey, Nicola, I got the deck right here, the deck box, and Tom Crutcher. Hi, everyone. So if anyone has some questions, go ahead and just type them in. I had a specific theme last time on what I wanted to talk about on the live stream, and this time I'm actually going to leave it open for a little bit, and if you guys don't suggest some questions or something, then I'm just going to start throwing some topics at you and see if I can get some feedback on what you guys actually think. So old school is, of course, what I'd like to talk about the most. Another good topic I want to talk about at some point is I see that the old school cards seemed to have plateaued in price increase, and there's not a pullback in the secondary market I see yet, but there's a pullback actually in the prices that I'm seeing in buy list prices, and that at least indicates that stores that have been buying the cards are done buying. They're not wanting to buy as much, so they're dropping their buy list prices. So if somebody's willing to sell to them at those prices, then they'll take it. But other than that, they don't want to keep increasing their inventory.
Tom said you need to say hi to his wife. She loves you. Big shout out.
Hi, Tom's wife. Thanks for the good props and the good words about that. Tom, what's her name, so I can specifically say hi to her?
And then Crazy Chess Player says, do you happen to have a PLD Alpha Royal Assassin for trade?
Oh, a Plaid. I don't have an Alpha or Beta Royal Assassin. All of mine currently are like revised in 4th edition. Okay, Tom, his wife is Melissa.
Yeah.
So, hello, Melissa. Thanks for coming to the live stream. Thanks for supporting Tom and his magic addiction. We've all got that addiction. It's a good thing. It helps us be social and do things like this, right? Isn't that good? Right? Good job, Tom, and good job, Melissa. So no, I don't have a played Royal Assassin that's alpha or beta. I would love to have one. You know, the last time I tried to actually buy a Royal Assassin, they were like 50 bucks for alpha and beta. And I was just about to do it. Then the prices started moving up and there was other cards that I needed. So I held off. And now it's like anything that's a rare in alpha or beta is just massive in price because they're so hard to find.
Albert Lund says, what are your thoughts on the dark as an investment? As for the old school, it seems like the cool off will be temporary until the stores become less saturated.
Okay, so Albert, that's a really good question. So in general, I think everything that's in old school has lots of potential to go up. My personal thought is anything that's old school is one primary thing, very useful in the game as a secondary piece, and in fantastic condition and reserve list is like, you know, the third piece. Anything that's got all those pieces is a fantastic card to buy and invest in. There's not a lot of cards in the dark that are like really high-end 5-star cards that you're gonna play. I mean, you've got, you know, like Ball Lightning and stuff like that. You got Blood Moon. You've got some good cards in this set for sure, right? But you don't have a ton of playables in the dark, and that's one of the big problems of that set. And they don't even have to be like super expensive cards, but they just need to be played a lot, right? So I think the dark has got a lot of potential. I think people are moving into them, but all that movement into the dark and the smaller ones that weren't really seeing a lot of play inside of decks, I don't think those have a lot of upside at the moment, because those are the ones that I think are going to fall the most in what I'm looking at is this kind of cool off period. Because if people have bought like a whole bunch of like what you call like the garbage, you know, the bulk rares, you know, the garbage commons and uncommons, if people aren't playing them, those are the ones that they're going to come back into the market because the investors don't want them and the players don't want them. So that supply is going to increase, and that's why those ones are going to come down. But the cards that are really truly playable, those are absolutely the ones to get. And so that's kind of my viewpoint, like overall. But it gets exacerbated when you look at the amount of cards that were printed in any of those given sets. So the Dark had a much higher print run. Fallen Empires had an enormous print run, and that's like the biggest things going against them. Fourth edition and Revias had pretty big print runs as well, but there's so many staples in those sets, right? So those might even end up holding their value relatively better than cards that are like smaller cards in like the Dark, like Dark Heart of the Wood or something that like nobody actually plays. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. So I don't know. Maybe I spent too much time on that.
Tom asks, do you have is it Avacyn? Is that how you say it? Angel of Hope.
Do I have an Angel of Hope? Actually, let me see. You know, I don't know if everyone's going to be able to see this if I do it. Hey guys, if this popped up for your screen, tell me. Avacyn, because I'm searching my collection right now. Okay, I don't see that Avacyn popped up. Let me start again and make sure I was at the very top. No, I don't think I do. Okay, so.
Clint says, what's up, Edwin?
Oh, Clint, you made it. Thank you for the support, Clint. I'm glad you're in here. Hey, guys, everyone say hi to Clint. He's a good friend.
And then Melissa said she's just as addicted to MTG. That's Tom's wife.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay. So, Tom, you got yourself a gem. You need to, like, just shower her with affection. Don't get rid of that one, man. Oh, my gosh. You got a wife that plays Magic. That is awesome. So, Melissa, what are your favorite cards and deck styles and stuff like that?
Okay, Michael wants to know, hey, Edwin, are you going to the Eternal Weekend?
So I would love to travel to these events, guys, to the Eternal Weekend and all these, like, you know, the Lobster Con that just happened. The only reason I don't go is because I'm literally a full-time engineer, then, of course, husband, father. So it's only when I can squeak out little chunks of time to go to those events. GP Vegas has been the one big thing that like I've been able to like squeeze out time for and make sure to go to. But you know, that actually might change because the GPs seem to be dropping in attendance and there's less booths and stuff like that. And like half the time now, they don't even have old school events. So I don't know, I'll talk to the guys because also I like to meet up with friends. And so maybe we'll stop going to GP Vegas and maybe we'll start targeting like other like old school smaller events. So I don't know, like at this point, it's not super likely, but I would love to actually go and play in some of those old school events.
Froggy0025 says, I'm going to the old school France Nats in December, and I'd very much like to record the games. I haven't talked about this to the organizers yet. What equipment do you use to record your videos?
Okay, so Froggy, so I've tried lots of different methods of recording. I'll show you a couple of things that worked like out in the field. On my PC right now, I have a Logitech, I think it's a C920 is the camera that you guys are looking at. And that's got great video quality. It records at 1080p, which is fantastic. For the audio, I've got this Blue Yeti microphone. And this was actually given to me by a guy named Thomas that actually used to work at Wizards of the Coast. He watched my channel and thought it was nice and gave me this microphone, and then I bought a stand and stuff for it. So the microphone is about $100-something. The camera is about $40, but that's what I'll use like when I'm like at the house. When I'm not at the house, and actually the person who gave me this tip was Rudy, actually. So this is a little Rode microphone, and you can see it plugs into a headphone jack. This is what Rudy actually uses as well. And so you take your phone on the headphone jack and you plug this thing in, and what you get is a directional microphone that it does a pretty decent job at canceling out like other sounds from other places. And you can even put stuff on it like a sound baffle to like try to eliminate like wind noise and stuff like that. And so this little piece, the Rode 3.5 millimeter jack microphone, wasn't super expensive. It's the best thing I've found for being out and traveling and being directional. But then also you need to have a tripod set up or ask some nice friend to hold your stuff for you. So that's the best option I have. You can get like little like portable tripods. They open up and like fold out and stuff like that. So I've got like all this equipment like right here on my desk. So it's funny that you asked me that. It's like I'm ready for this question, right?
Let's see. Albert said, thanks. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for the answer. What are the print runs on Alliances and Mirage like? Oh
gosh, that's a good question. Okay, so there was an article written by Star City Games. The guy's name was Chad something. And Chad actually wrote this article called All About Alpha. If you search for that article, you should be able to find it. And he listed print run numbers for like all these different sets. And after I found that, I think there was like threads talking about it. And some people started giving some print run numbers for other sets that weren't in that article. And the best information I've possibly found for print run sizes is there. Now, here's the problem. Wizards of the Coast, shortly after getting started, they didn't want to like release print run numbers because they didn't want people getting worried about the print run numbers and speculating the market. And they also didn't want as much blowback for printing lots of cards. So there's a moment in time where like you just can't find print run numbers, and it's like it's a very closely guarded secret. I don't actually have that date of like, or that set that's like there's a cutoff on it. I was able to get like that All About Alpha article, and I remember I was able to get some other information on print run sizes and then estimated print run sizes, and I put them all into this like sheet that I've got saved somewhere in my hard drive. I'll see if maybe my wife will remind me. I'll try to go back and find that, and maybe in one of my future videos or an Instagram post or something, I'll post that information. But that's the best I can tell you. Look for All About Alpha by Chad something from Star City Games.
Melissa says, she is my favorite card. What is your favorite card?
She must have said something before.
No, I didn't see. I think she's talking about the angel that her husband.
Oh, Addison.
I think. I don't know. Sorry, Melissa.
What is my favorite card? Okay, my favorite card is, that's an interesting question. In all the thousands of cards of Magic, my favorite card, if anyone guessed, it's Time Twister. I love Time Twister. And it actually fits my personality. If this one might make sense once I explain it. I love playing Magic, right? As much as people might think, I don't actually care so much if I win or if I lose a game. I love the interaction. One of the reasons I like Time Twister is it's really cheap for the effect, and all the stuff in my graveyard and everyone else's gets cycled back in, and everyone gets to draw 7 cards. It basically just breathes life into the game, right? I've won a lot of games because of Time Twister. I've also lost, right? But every single time I cast it, it's just like you're just rolling the dice and you don't know what's going to happen. And it always just ups the fun level every single time, right? So I like using it in decks. I love it when my opponents play it against me. I just find it's generally a really fun card. And it's literally, it might be it's my most favorite to play in terms of like owning. It's almost one of my favorite cards to own as well, is actually just Time Twister, right? And it's funny because people consider it the worst card of the Power 9, and most of the time that's true, right? But there's times where it's so much fun to play, actually.
Excuse me. Bakaris asks, since market plateau, is it good to buy power, at least unlimited?
Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, so the market plateau, this is just my guess, and there's other people that feel the same way, and the buy lists on websites seems to reflect it. So since I believe the smaller stuff that's not as heavily played, it's like the 3-star cards, the 1-star cards are all going to fall in value. The next obvious question is, what about like the power cards, the dual lands, things like that? I think those ones are I think those are going to fall the least, because people have really like bled to like buy those cards and get those cards, and not a lot of people are going to want to sell them. The ones that are going to come into the market are the ones that were bought by speculators and investors. Those are the ones I'm suspecting are going to come flowing into the market. Because if you think about it, if you're an investor, the only thing you cared about was money, right? And if those cards are now falling, your investment's falling, you just want to get out. So the number of cards that are the big cards, like dual lands and Power 9, that come flowing into the market, my perception is I think that is your window into the investment side of Magic. If there's not a lot that come in, then I personally think there wasn't as many investors as people thought. If a ton of them come flowing in, then that would probably indicate there's been more people that are pure investment other than just players themselves. I don't think the players are going to sell. So having said all that, I do expect the power and the dual lands to come down at least some, because I know there's investors out there, and I know they're not going to want to like stomach falling prices. So I think it will fall, and it all comes down to how many investors there is. I don't really know how many that there are, but I will tell you though, if I was the guy waiting to buy Power 9 and dual lands, I would sit back, just wait a little bit, hold on to my cash, see what those prices actually come down to, and when that price starts to level off, I would run in and like actually go buy those, right? Now, I've already bought my sets, so I'm not going to capitalize on that, but that's what I would say to you guys. Just, let the cool off. The consolidation period is what finance would call it. Let the consolidation period happen. Let the prices stabilize, and then go get the ones you're still missing.
Ed Steminator says, where you shop for old school long-term investments. I know Daniel Chang keeps saying revised duels will drop, blah, blah, blah. What's your take?
I think Daniel is very correct in revised duels dropping. This is the star. Here's the note. In comparison to Alpha Beta Unlimited dual lands. So yeah, revised will drop compared to those. Yes. But I don't think there's any way the revised duels are going to like just lose like all of their value or a ton of their value. And anything that they lose is going to go back up, because dual lands are needed for legacy. They're needed for vintage. They're needed for old school. They're needed for EDH. And people just want them overall for their collections. They're highly desired cards, right? And they are still the best multicolor, flat out lands that are out there. So no, I don't see the revised dual lands losing a ton of value and staying down. So I don't think Dan is completely saying that either, but I think what he is saying is compared to Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, those are going to maybe drop a tiny bit. The revised will drop comparatively a lot more, a larger percentage drop. And I think he's right about that. But I would just take that as an opportunity to buy them again before they go back up eventually.
Pedro in Colada. So I built my old school deck. It's unpowered, but it's good. I'm in Coral Springs, Florida. How do I find someone to play?
So Pedro, the best thing I can recommend, okay, so if you're new in a community, I'm just going to assume for a second you're new in that community. The best thing you can do is connect with other people that have been in that community for a while, because people tend to eventually find each other over time. That's the best way I've been able to meet people that also play certain formats when I move to a new area, is you just got to like locate a couple of them, right? And if you don't know any of them, maybe a first spot is like go to like a local store and talk to the guy and say, hey, is there, that owns the store, excuse me, is there anyone that comes in and wants to buy old cards? Do you know a player that's got old cards and loves the old formats? And most of the time they'll be like, oh yeah, there's this one guy, Bob or something. They'll come up with some name. And then you just like leave your phone, because they're not going to give out that person's information, but you can leave your name and phone number. Or maybe you just go to the events at like a Friday Night Magic or a pre-release or something, and like just let people know, put the word out, like I want to play these old formats, and word of mouth, you're gonna run into someone. I've been able to meet people sometimes through like the Facebook groups. Sometimes there is now, it'll be like when we were in Houston, there was literally like a Houston vintage players group that I got invited to, and I actually never got to go play with those guys because they would always meet up at this bar and I was always busy. It was really sad. I wanted to go play with them. But anyways, there is Facebook groups now that organize that kind of stuff. Another good one is there's also a Facebook group for old school online tournaments. And so even if you can't meet people in your immediate area, you can join this old school online Facebook group, and people go there all the time to meet up and play cards, you know, with other people. So maybe there's some starts.
JJ asks, if someone is selling out of MTG with lots of RL cards, do you sell to Rudy knowing cards won't see the light of day, or dealers knowing they will sell them to the players?
Okay, so now Rudy's going to hate me for saying this, but you guys, the best way to sell your cards, and I made a video about this, like I said, like how to sell your Magic cards, and I described like 4 major ways, like even in quadrants, and I talked about the different factors on them. I got very mathematical about it. There is no better way to sell your Magic cards than what I'm about to say. Sell them as singles in your, like person to person, or in your own eBay account. It takes more time and it takes more effort, but you will absolutely get more money for your cards. The worst way to sell them is package them all up in one big bulk and then sell them off as one big pile. Now that's, in terms of effort, absolutely that's the easiest, right? You'll just get it done. Someone will write you a check and then bam, you're done, right? But if someone came to me and they had $20,000 worth of Magic cards, like list value, well, I'm going to offer them 15, or maybe I'll offer them 10, right? I don't know, but that's the way it works. And that's not me just doing that. That's what everybody does. If you go to a dealer with $50,000 worth of cards, like list price, they're going to offer you 35. They're going to offer you 30. That's the way it works in a big bulk deal. If you want to get the most value, you got to sell singles. Now, on that note, since eBay is like one of the best ways to sell your cards individually, that also requires that you have an eBay account and you have a good user feedback rating. And I know there's other questions, but I got to get this note out because it's really important. You got to have a good feedback rating. And when you're selling cards, the most scary thing for a buyer is they go to your eBay account and they see nothing else listed, and then like, here's a Mox Emerald or something, right? That would scare the heck out of me. So number one, you got to get your feedback rating as high as you can, as fast as you can. And number two, get all the cards listed out that you're going to sell and start with the smallest ones and work your way up to the largest ones. Because if I'm going to buy a $100 card and I look and other people got $20 and $50 cards, I'm going to feel safer about that $100 card. Now, if I'm going to buy a $500 card and other people got the $100 cards, I'm going to feel better that I'll get the $500 card. If I'm going to buy a $2,000 card and I see multiple people they received their $500 cards and they were happy about it, I feel more comfortable about that. So as a buyer, even if someone has low feedback, if they've actually been successfully selling other cards, and I can see right in the comments that people are receiving their cards and they're happy about it, I will feel more comfortable as a buyer, and you will get better prices for your actual cards. So if you don't have an eBay account, that's the way to go for it, man.
Let's see. Froggy0025 said thank you very much for the answer. And then Michael, I think it's Pidgeot?
Is that Pidgeot or Pidgeot? I don't know.
Well, he's going to be playing in the Legacy and Vintage Championship for Eternal Weekend, and he's trying to play some old school as well with your budget mono black list.
Oh, very cool. So, Michael, thank you for playing the budget mono black. I love that list as a start. It's actually decent, you know, that deck, it can definitely pull down some of the bigger decks. And I like it also because once you actually start splashing in some more expensive cards, like first of all, go get your Chaos Orb as soon as you can. You need that for old school. But there's so many directions you can go with that budget black. Like you could drop in some Badlands and then some Lightning Bolts, maybe a Wheel of Fortune, some Red Elemental Blasts, and like you could start going with a little bit more aggressive damage. Or you could go a different direction. You could splash in some Scrublands and put in some Disenchants and some Swords to Plowshares and Balance, maybe an Armageddon. There's like that base black deck is a great black deck to begin with. And you can even put in blue and put in some counter magic, or if you can manage buying like an Ancestral or a Time Walk, eventually do one of those because those just swing the game. So I love that budget black deck because it's a solid platform to begin with. And as you buy cards and upgrade, you can start going a different path. So that's really fun. That's actually one of the things I'm going to do when I do the mid-range series of decks, the deck techs.
RA says, Edwin, can you give a shout out to EtME? It's an open source MTG where people can play for free. I play old school there, but we could use more players.
Okay, so EtME, I've seen the platform a little bit. I've tried it. It seemed to be a good platform. I haven't personally done it because every time I find the free time to play, the first thing I do is I want to do a Skype game with people. So that's the first place I jump straight to because I like that, seeing people and talking to them interface. But EtME is pretty cool. So yeah, if any of you guys haven't tried EtME, it is a cool platform. I would absolutely recommend just type it in EtME, Magic the Gathering, check it out. Yeah, it's good.
Tom Kretschler, who's married to Melissa, Edwin, love the art posters behind you. Long shot. How much for the one in the middle?
Okay, so I'd have to think about that because if I took that down, I'd have to figure out what else I'm going to put up. Yeah, I do love that thing. Okay, so I bought that poster. Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you what I paid for it. So maybe you can snag one on your own if there's nothing we can work out if I decide not to sell it. I got the poster for $40, I think, on eBay about like a year and a half ago. And then I think we paid about $100 to have it framed. Wasn't that about right?
Probably.
Yeah, so I just took it to, it was a Michaels. I think we took it to Michaels and I had them frame it for me. And it was somewhere around $80 or $100 for them to frame it. So that is a poster that was made way back in the day. That's an old poster. But you might still be able to find them somewhere on the internet for like $40 a piece. And so that might be better because I've now got some sentimental value. I might not give you a great price especially because I'll have to put something else up there, right? But I don't know. We can talk offline. Go to my Instagram and send me a message on Instagram, or you can just send me an email, and my email is listed right in the description of all my videos if you want to talk back and forth without buying it.
Renee Nelson, which I think is Taylor. We can't use Taylor.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Do you know any good apps or software programs for videos or any way to film?
Yes, Renee, or is this Taylor?
It might be Taylor.
So there is actually. The software I use is all free. I haven't bought any of the software that I'm actually using. To make the videos and to edit, I use HitFilm Express 4. And I found that free on the internet. Other people were recommending it for editing your videos. And it's one of those ones that it's free to download and use. But when you pay them, you get to upgrade the features and do more complicated editing. But for what I do, the free version has been enough. Every video you guys have seen of mine is all just HitFilm Express free version. So HitFilm Express 4. Now, in terms of recording the video, that's different. There's the editing tool, and then there's the recording software. For recording the video, I think it's OBS Studio is what I use. And OBS Studio is fantastic because it can either use your camera on top of your computer to do all the recording of the video of your face, but it also has a mode where it just records everything on your desktop. And you can just click between the two, and you can see your entire desktop or what's on the camera. And on some of my recent videos, I'm actually using that and switching back and forth so I can show people what I'm seeing, or they can just see my ugly mug and then I can just talk at the camera, right? So yeah, OBS Studio for recording, HitFilm Express 4 for editing, and they're both free.
OB's here.
Hey, Open Booster is just logged in. How's it going, OB?
Carl, I think it says Chan the Third. Question, like Dwight from The Office.
Dwight.
Question.
Do you guys like The Office? I love that show.
Question.
Question.
What GPs or MTG events do you plan on going to next year?
We were just talking about this. Some people were asking if I'm going to go to Eternal Weekend or one of the other old school events or GPs. The only thing officially right now is I've been planning on doing Grand Prix Las Vegas. If they have Grand Prix in Orlando, which I heard they didn't organize this year, not in Orlando, then I would totally go to that one, right? I would totally love to go to that one. But I don't think that they organized the Grand Prix in Orlando. So currently, it's GP Vegas. I would love, sweetie, I would love to go to Eternal Weekend.
I would love a Pandora bracelet.
She will get a Pandora bracelet if I can go to Eternal Weekend. So maybe I can set that up. I'll have to look at the details. If I can go, I'll probably post it on Facebook, or I'll post it like on my Instagram to say which ones I'm planning to attend. Yeah, I would love to. It's just that I am a full-time engineer. This is all just hobby, and I'm barely being paid for this, just YouTube ads. So I'm not monetizing this at all. So it's hard to carve out that free time for it, and that's really my restriction.
I'm kind of needy.
And yeah, she's kind of.
Okay, Thunder Moose says, what are your thoughts on the vintage Pokemon scene?
Vintage Pokemon scene. I'm definitely not the guy to ask. But I've seen some prices and some Pokemon cards going way up in value, which is amazing. And they don't have anything like a reserve list. I assume that's where you were going with this question, because Magic has the reserve list. Pokemon doesn't. And there's like a question people ask sometimes, will old school Magic cards ever go down in value if the reserve list gets abolished? And people are standing on each side of the fence, and they use Pokemon as an example of that, because you've got some Pokemon cards that are way up in value. The difference I see there, and again, I'm no Pokemon expert, so this is just what I see, and I could be way off. I think it's only the very original print Pokemon cards, and only the ones that are in fantastic condition that command a really large price.
Pokemon.
Yeah, so my daughter just handed me a Pokemon. There we go. But this one's not an original one. So I think purple wasn't in the first sets. So only like those really old original ones, and only in fantastic condition, command those really high prices. What's different in Magic is you can just go buy like anything that's like Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Arabian Nights, Legends, The Dark, revised. Almost anything has got value, right? But in Pokemon, those relative ones, I don't think they have that kind of value. It's only the very old originals in fantastic condition. So
Paul and Dan are here too.
Oh, Paul Mueller. How's it going, Paul?
Dan's here too.
And Dan made it too.
And people are saying it's delayed. It's a 30-second delay.
Yeah, so sorry guys, there is a delay. As I'm talking, I think there's at least like a 5-second delay. But then also we might be behind in the actual questions. So Dan had a question?
No, there's more questions before that. But
okay.
Do you want me to go down there?
Yeah, well let's go to the questions before. I don't want to miss anyone.
Okay. Let's see, where was I?
We have 43 people online right now. Hey, everybody.
Oh, here we go. Shirmy the Loner says, hey, Edwin, do you have / are collecting any full sets of MTG?
Am I collecting any full sets? You know, kind of. I used to actually go for full sets way back at the beginning. But then when I discovered that what I enjoyed the most personally is playing Magic, I changed everything around from collecting, investing, whatever, to organizing for playing. So the way I organize my cards, the way that I buy, the way that I look at it, it's all centered around playing Magic the Gathering. So I kind of had to let go of the idea of collecting, and I'll give you a way that makes that becomes very real. Look at a card like, you know, Llanowar Elves or Dark Ritual was printed, or Disenchant, printed in tons of sets, right? If I was a collector, I would want to have a play set or at least one of those cards from each of those expansions so I could have those collecting sets, right? But what happened was, and this is one of the reasons I let go of the collecting, Wizards of the Coast started reprinting all these cards in so many sets that it just became just ridiculously difficult to try to like save a copy from every set. I mean, once they hit like, you know, number 15 on reprint of Dark Rituals, I was like, okay, forget this. You know, because my collection size was massive and I had all these prints of the same card. And all that I ever personally cared about was building decks. So it was like a moment in my Magic career, if you will, that I kind of just said, okay, enough. What I care about is playing. I took all the newer reprints and I like moved them off to the side. I narrowed it down to only 4 of any card. And when I went to 4, I either went for the most expensive versions or the oldest versions, and everything else I got rid of. And that's what I have now in my collection. So I literally, like, when I pared it down, I went from maybe 200,000 cards down to like 25,000 cards at that time. And I just had these huge 5,000 count boxes I just got rid of because it was just way too much bulk. And so I sold them, I traded them, I got rid of them, and just I used that value and rolled it back into the collection and multiplied it up. So that's one of the ways that, you know, that decision of collecting versus playing makes a big impact. So my playing got to be enhanced because all the stuff I had that I was keeping for collecting, I just moved it out and moved that value into the actual playing and grew my play value, basically.
Bakaris asks, what is the most common strategy in 93, 94 format?
Well, the most popular deck is definitely The Deck by Brian Weissman. People have done their own take on it. So I would say that's got to be the most common strategy. So a control deck. But it's because it's a really good deck. It's like the gold standard. But here's the thing. In other formats, there might be like 1 or 2 decks that are like the top and then maybe a bunch of tier 2 decks. In old school, I tell you, man, you go online and you look at tournament reports, there'll be 80, 90 people at a tournament and every one of them has a different deck. And it's not just because they just want to play different things. It's because it can actually be very different on what's actually competitive. So people go to the deck the most often, but that's not because it's like the one and only winning deck. It's because it's a very known, good, stable deck. If you pilot it right, you got a shot, right? If you go like deep into like Red Burn or Goblins or something, if everyone metas one direction, you might crush the whole field. But if they meta a different way, then you're just going to get demolished. And so it kind of comes down to what that local meta is. But the deck is consistent across like many things. So control, I'd say, is the most consistent. But you definitely see a lot of aggressive aggro decks, especially now. Like at least 2 color decks with lots of quick, fast creatures. And you see that in multiple color combinations too.
Froggy0025 says, would you recommend waiting or should I just go and pick up 1 unlimited at 85 and 3 CE at 25? Which Ivory Tower mirrors is fun to play. So
Froggy, I don't know which card specifically you're referring to. Did he say in the last comment?
He asked a question up above, like that you already answered, so it could have been about.
Oh, playset of liches he's asking about? Okay. So anyways, your general question is, should I like go like buy cards or should I wait a little bit? Again, everyone, my personal belief, it's just an opinion based on what I'm seeing, I think Magic is cooling off a little bit, definitely for like the newer formats. And maybe there's a bit of a resurgence with like, Dominaria, but it seems to be mostly cooling off. But even in like the old school stuff, it seems to be cooling off a little bit. If you have a bunch of money you're ready to put into it, I would honestly just hold on to that money, let the market settle out a little bit, and you might get a lot more card per dollar, right? So for just about everything, I'd honestly just wait a little bit. I don't think at this moment, even the ones that are going to be the most stable in value are going to start climbing way up in price. I don't personally see that right now for the next like 6 months, year, something like that. I'm even holding back my buying. So I've been slowing down as well because I'm expecting these prices might come down and I'm going to get a lot more cards. So I think that kind of goes across the board, right? But like I said at the start of this stream, the cards that are the least playable, like the 1-2 star cards that are just not great, but they're old school, those are the ones that are going to fall most. The cards that are the most playable, your Lightning Bolts, your Disenchant, your Power 9, your Dual Lands, those are going to hold their value the most, I think.
I'm just scrolling through some stuff.
Cool. Are people just chatting away?
Yeah. Open Booster says, that is very true, Edwin. Sell individual cards, not bulk deal it. Gotta work for the money. eBay also takes 10%, so keep that in mind. Selling to individual, the best way. Yeah,
Open Booster, you're exactly right. If I can sell a $100 card on eBay, if I can sell it to a person, then I'm not losing the eBay fee and the PayPal fee. Absolutely. Yeah, that is the best way. But you need to have a good social network to do that. You need to know and be close to a lot of people you can sell that card to. On that note, there actually is a Facebook group called High End Magic that if you have expensive high-end old cards, you can join that group. And I think their limit is like any card over $50 a card, they actually let you just post it on there. And there's kind of like a karma system where like once you get known by people on there, then you'll be trusted and you can say, does anyone know this guy? And people will reply and say, yeah, we know this guy. And you can actually, it's like, it has a bit more risk, of course, because it's just a Facebook group, right? But since it's Facebook and people know each other, there's some validation that actually happens as well. So, be careful with that. But that's a way to, sell the cards and avoid the eBay fees.
Piccola George says, what about selling off commons and uncommons and pauper decks excuse me, on eBay as pre-made decks? Think that is a market?
That's a good question. The guy who's probably much better at answering that question about pauper format is Rogue Deck Builder. He's got a great YouTube channel, much bigger than mine, and he focuses on the pauper format a lot more. So he can probably shoot from the hip with a much better answer on that. Now, the problem I see with like having a pauper market is like, a lot of the decks in pauper, they're commons. And so an awful lot of people have commons. And so much of it is just bulk stuff. So if I was wanting to personally get into pauper, I'm not sure if I would go online and like buy someone's pre-made pauper deck. I'd probably look at that list and try to like build it myself, because a lot of the cards I'll just go pick up much cheaper like elsewhere, or I might even have an awful lot of them and I can buy a couple singles here or there. I think that's the biggest problem with like having like a pre-made pauper market. But maybe there's people out there that they don't have those collections and they don't have a local store, and that's their best way of doing it. So I suppose that's kind of the question. And again, like I'm not the right guy to ask. Kevin at Rogue Deck Builder would be fantastic for that. But that would be my assumption, that it's much harder to have a market there. Because even if you get it and you sell it, if the overall deck is worth like $40 and someone can go build it themselves, maybe piecing it together for 30 or something, I don't know if they're going to go through the effort to just buy the pre-made deck online.
Paul said he was a bit late but wanted to say hi.
Hi, Paul.
Open Boosters had to go put his kids to bed. And let's see.
Okay, so Froggy said something about Chaos Orb there.
Okay. Like once you invest into Chaos Orb and Proly, CE Moxjet, if you have the money, the mono black is already very good.
Yeah. Like guys, if you haven't gotten a Chaos Orb, that is definitely one to get. So I've been telling you guys, I think there's a cool off period coming, and that of course would include even cards like Chaos Orb. However, Chaos Orbs, remember guys, Chaos Orbs are just as rare as Power 9 because they were not printed in anything else other than Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and of course the Collector's Edition and International Edition. But so were the Power 9, right? And there are definitely Chaos Orbs that were destroyed. I don't know how many were actually destroyed, but I know it actually happened, right? So they're a rare card, and they've recently gone up in value. And the betas, like, I mean, you can go get a beta Chaos Orb for $3 grand, but I mean, go find yourself like a beta Mox, you know, for the same price. It's hard, right? And an unlimited Chaos Orb is like $800, but an unlimited Mox is even like $1,500 or something like that. So I still think the Chaos Orbs have a little bit more ways to move. So even at these prices, that one might actually still be a buy right now if you can actually find it. But
okay, Daniel's actually asking a serious question. Are you sure, Daniel?
Yeah. Are you sure, Daniel? This is a serious question.
He wants to know, will 2019 be a down year for old school cards?
I personally think it will be. But I said this in one of my last videos. I actually see the 2019 or just Magic cards in general. I see that they're going to cool off a little bit, but I'll tell you guys, I've never seen like a collapse in Magic card prices. For the really old stuff, it's kind of like it just goes up in the staircase, right? And sometimes, you know, like when you go up on a stair, it'll stay flat. This will be like 10 years. Like I remember the dual lands were literally like 20 bucks each for so long. And then they finally started to move and they shot up to like 50 bucks and that kind of stayed for a while. So a lot of those old cards, I don't personally see they're going to have this enormous collapse because they're rare and people want them and they play with them. So I don't think they're going to pull back a ton. But I do think that it's going to flatten out for a while. And the investors are going to drop theirs because they don't want dead money. They don't want cards sitting there. And that'll make them retrace a little bit. But when they retrace, there's so many players that wanted those cards. It's possible all the people that have been waiting to buy and they see this cool-off period might just rush in and grab those cards. And they're going to shore up like a price base on those. So it's possible they might only pull back like 10% and then like sit there until like the next big price increase starts again. It's totally possible. And that could define 2019 and 2020. We'll have to see.
Let's see. People are saying there were just lots of lag here.
Yeah, sorry about the lag, guys.
Eddie's chatty.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not really slow at reading chat. It's just Eddie's chatty.
But that's why there's a channel. It's because I go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Do you have a video where you explain what software you use to track your collection? That's Albert's.
Albert, I do. I actually have. One of my first videos I made was like how to organize your collection like an engineer, and I talked about what I have in my drawers over here, how I put all the cards in, and how like I literally open them up from packs, and I use a tray to separate them and stuff. But that was like the physical maintenance mostly. And then I did an update to that video to how to organize your collection, and I talked about the software application. So I did do those videos. They are in my channel. I think how to organize your collection like an engineer was the first video, and the second one I think was an update, and I showed pictures of the tools, the software that I use. The main one I use is MTG Studio, and I know that everyone's got their favorite software, but there's a reason why I use MTG Studio. MTG Studio actually allows me to enter some of these fringe ones. Like if you have like a foreign black border 4th edition Soul Ring or something like that, they actually have an entry for it, right? Or if I have like a foreign black border or like a Chinese Mirage or something, they'll have an entry for that. And I think that's important because those price differences really matter, right? Like a Chronicles City of Brass that's white, the border's white, versus a black border foreign Chinese City of Brass or something with original art. Well, you know, the white border one might be 10 bucks. The black border one might be like 40, 50 bucks. And there's a real price difference on them. So I want to separate them. So MTG Studio, sorry, Yeah, yeah. MTG Studio has those different categories. Now, for price tracking though, I use Echo MTG. It's a website, and I have like 35,000 cards in my collection. I only track like 2,000 because, like, what's the point of tracking a 15-cent card? And it's so much effort to enter it, right? And so Echo MTG charges you like there's like $2 a month for like 5,000 cards, and then you go to like $10 a month for like 20,000 or something. But in my estimation, there's no point to tracking most of your cards. So I took like the top 2,000 cards that have the most value. I put those into Echo MTG, and so I can see the price trends on Echo MTG, but the actual inventory is done on MTG Studio. And actually, guys, one more note before I go back to another question. The guy who created MTG Studio, his name is Gad D. Lord, and I actually did an interview with the guy, and you can find that in my older videos as well. And it was funny because he always had this one picture of his face where he was like kind of crazy like that. And that's all he ever posted. And so I started the video by showing that picture, then I faded it out, and like there was the guy's real face, and you got to actually talk to the guy. So that was really cool.
Paul wanted to know if you hit 50,000 subscribers, will you open up an alpha starter deck for us? Laugh out loud.
Oh my gosh. An alpha starter deck would be so expensive because like I am so far away from 50,000 subscribers. So if I hit that, that would be like years from now. I don't know, Paul. I don't know if I can promise that, man. If I get to that point and an alpha starter is like 20 grand or 30 grand, oh man, I don't know if I can swing that. But I like the thought. I like where you're going, doing something special. So yeah, I'm into the idea, but I don't know about that one.
Melissa said, so if I'm going to be watching and sharing your live streams and other videos, I want to see your wife.
Oh, okay.
I don't like the camera, Melissa.
Okay.
Hi.
That's my wife. I love her.
It's nothing to do with Eddie. I just don't like the camera. Okay. Okay, I'm just kind of going.
So she's catching up.
There's a lot of chat going on. Dylan said he recently had a job interview at HPE and the campus was beautiful. Yes,
Dylan. I actually really enjoyed the job at HPE. It was a great, I was working with the server BIOS guys. Jim Bodner was my manager, great group of guys. And it was a great job. I liked the facility. We liked an awful lot of things about Houston. And yeah, they've been upgrading that building since the flood came in, because that HPE building flooded twice, actually. It flooded with Hurricane Harvey, and it also flooded with this like tax day, really hard rain that came in. So they've like since then they fixed the building, they upgraded it, and so it looks fantastic in there, and they've been putting money into it, so it's great. But I just couldn't say no to living in Orlando, Florida, next to Disney World and next to all these parks, and the cost of living was pretty decent. Working for Lockheed at a job that probably matters more to the world than any other job I've done before, and so it was too good of an opportunity. I couldn't pass it up. But HPE was great. I love the campus. I had a goodbye video, by the way. If you guys haven't seen it, on some of my last days at HPE, I literally got little one-on-one interviews with a lot of the guys I worked with, and I took some like sweeping video of like the area that I worked in and stuff. So you actually got a rare chance to see that. And I can't do that at Lockheed, unfortunately. There's no cameras at Lockheed Martin. Like they do not allow that.
Bakara says, what do you think of the not so good reserve list? Do you think they're a good investment?
Of the not so good reserve list. So, guys, the reserve list it's such a big topic. I'm not going to go into the whole thing. It's a good thing and a bad thing that the Wizards did the reserve list. It's bad because I literally want more players to come into these old cards and to play the game. So on that side, I'm very sad about the reserve list because it keeps people out because the prices are so high. The other side is it does actually, Magic and collectible card gaming might have never become what it actually is if it wasn't for the reserve list. And anyone saying that that's not the case, it's just a speculation. I personally think that, my opinion is that it wouldn't have been what it is. So do I think they're a good investment? Well, absolutely. But for any investment, there's always the right time to buy, right? Because even if an investment's going to go up, 100% in like, some amount of time, well, if that's 1 year, well, yeah, get in quick. If that's 20 years, well, what's it going to do? Are you going to buy it and it's going to sit solid for like 15 years and then eventually move up? And how long can you hold an investment? And that kind of goes for like anything, right? Real estate, stocks, bonds. You got to look at when those things are expected to go up and how long can you hold them. Those are big questions. And at what price to buy them. A great example is like real estate right now. Real estate is a fantastic investment because real estate, you get all these tax benefits buying it. Banks will trip over themselves to loan you money to actually do it. You can rent out properties and you can get cash flow on it. All that is fantastic. But if you have this artificial bubbled market that sent prices up, well, you don't want to buy right here. Real estate is a good investment, but if there's a crash about to happen, you want to buy here, not here. And so there's something to be said with that with the reserve list as well. Yeah, I think reserve list is a fantastic investment, but if we're about to hit a cool off period, you probably want to pull back and wait a bit, right?
Just so you know, you're in an hour right now.
I'm in an hour. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But we still have 40 people online.
Yeah. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Matt Manhattan says, are there any alternative investments other than magic that you are bullish on?
Oh, other than magic, yes. So that's a great question. I'm not going to talk about all my investments because some of them, some of them are personal investments, some of them are a big open in the air. But at this exact second, I'm actually bearish on most investments. And that's why I've been making these financial videos. I made the video about Bitcoin. I made the video about real estate and bubbles and stuff, because you guys, you got to realize all these markets are tied together, right? They're not separate anymore. People have this concept that, oh, these are stocks and this is real estate and this is bonds. They used to be separate. They are not anymore. And the reason is because if one of them goes up in value, people are going to sell the ones that are not going up to buy into the ones that are going up, because we're in a situation now where interest rates have been suppressed. People are not getting a lot of good yield. They're not getting a return on their investment. And people are just trying like crazy to beat inflation. They're trying to get that good investment. So if one of those goes up, the people are going to sell the other ones and move into that. And so there's this tug of war between all these investments. So that's a whole big topic. I'm not going to go too much into that right now, but the point is they're all connected. Now that you know they're all connected, when interest rates for borrowing money are ratcheting up, investing in any of these things that have a lot of borrowed money in them starts getting more and more expensive. And so the reason why I personally think we're coming into a pullback or a recession is because the interest rates kind of for everything are ratcheting up. And when interest rates go up, asset prices tend to come down. So I actually think I'm more bearish on just assets overall, and that's stocks, bonds, real estate overall. So in my perspective, you want to be liquid right now. And when these asset prices come down, that's when you start asking the question, which ones are you going to want to go into? And that's going to depend on which ones fall the most, but still have the most reality, right? That you got to pay attention then. And I'll be watching that as well, because I'll have investable cash as well. And so I might go buy a rental house. I might go buy stocks. I might go buy bonds. I'm kind of waiting to see what direction it's going to go. But right now, the best I can tell you is I'm staying liquid because I'm waiting for that pullback to happen. And I don't want to be a member of that crash.
Your Aunt Carol's here. She wants to say hi.
Oh, hi, Aunt Carol.
Jose Gonzalez said that his local shop just closed down to poor management.
Oh, sorry, Jose. That's really sad when a local LGS closes down.
Nicola says, what have been your favorite deck?
Archetype.
Archetype? Oh, okay. Through your magic experience. I love mill and alternative win condition in general.
So my absolute favorite deck of all time, absolutely hands down, it's my vintage deck. That Control Slaver deck that I've done some videos on. I love that deck. And it's not. I'm not going to call it the best deck in Vintage. I've won some Vintage tournaments with it, and it's still a good Vintage deck. I mean, when I played it in GP Vegas 2017, I think I got like 9th out of like 40 people, or no, 5th or something. I did really well with it because there was just a couple decks I wasn't prepared for, and I didn't know how to do it. But I was winning most of my matches. But I love that deck because it has the tools to deal with like almost anything, and that it has like a different alternate way to win. And many times when you do that in Magic, when you build a deck to do several things, your deck becomes very bad at like that one thing you're trying to do. This one deck, it has multiple ways to win, but they're all so synergistic with each other that they all end up being actually good, and they all interchange, and the deck can win with a Mindslaver lock, or it can deck, or it can swing for damage, or use your own cards against you. And it plays like this deck that's like this counter Magic defensive game, and then it like changes gears and it goes offensive, and it tries to just combo on you or just play this like creature war. And I just love that interaction about how it plays. So hands down, absolutely my Control Slaver deck for Vintage is my absolute favorite deck.
Okay, Carl, question. I love when Carl asks questions.
Question.
It sounds
like Dwight. Short. Yeah.
He asks, where do you buy most of your old school cards? What do you think are the cheapest or easiest way to buy cards for old school?
The cheapest way, actually I posted a video about this, I don't remember how many months ago. The best way, for the best price, there's no question, there's one answer. The best way to buy old school cards is save up a huge pile of cash and then advertise that you want to buy a collection, and then go get a collection. There is no better way to do it. I'll give you the math on it real quick. This is what I said in that video. Say you save up, $20,000 cash, and then somebody posts like a $35,000 collection, like the list price is 35 grand. Many times you offer somebody 20 grand cash for that 35 grand collection, and they'll take it. And right off the bat, you've got this enormous savings. But you might not need all those cards. So then what you can do is you buy the 35 grand worth of cards, and then you do the best way to sell, like I was saying, you get that eBay account, and you take the high value cards that you're not going to use, and you list those and resell it. It's possible that you could take that 35 grand worth of cards, maybe resell 10, 15, 20 grand worth of cards, and what you're left with is like around 15, 20 grand worth of cards that you have still remaining, but you've now recouped your actual money, right? And so how do you beat that? So the tricks of it is, a lot of people don't have that amount of cash to go buy a collection. That's one advantage that you're using, right? And so you're getting that big bulk deal at the beginning, but then you're doing the other side, you're selling the singles individually. So hands down, that's the cheapest way to get them. But that requires, of course, a large amount of cash. If you don't have a large amount of cash, then what I've done personally to get the best individual deals is like, I'll go on eBay a lot of times, but then you got a certain level of risk. If you're a risk averse person, then you want to go to a dealer. And if you're going to go to a dealer, you've got all the options out there. You've got Star City Games, you've got Vintage Magic, you've got Power9.com, you've got Card Castle. I mean, just all these different places you can individually go. And they've all got their pluses and minuses. I'm not going to go through that list right now.
Daniel Chang is asking, is it better to buy old school Magic cards or real estate?
That's a big question. Right now, I personally think, because I'm very nervous about real estate, so I would actually rather buy neither of those two at this second. After the crash, after the financial market downturn, if we have one, I would say hands down real estate. I would get real estate, and especially if you can buy it with cash. But at this second, if I had to buy one of them, like I wasn't allowed for some reason to just stay liquid and I needed to buy something, I'd probably buy old school Magic cards, because I don't think old school Magic cards are going to fall as much as real estate might. I just put a video out there real recently. I think I called it, yes, there's a crash coming. And I showed an example of how the interest rates going up at the federal funds rate makes home mortgages go up. And I showed how that translates to monthly expense. And I showed how that translates to home prices coming down. you guys, it's possible. It is possible that real estate could fall 50% or something like that. It's entirely possible. It all depends on what happens with the Fed. And if you guys don't believe this can happen, look at 1980s. Paul Volcker, the Fed chair, raised interest rates to like 18%. I mean, literally going to get a mortgage was like 21%. Like that's what they charged you. It was like 21%. It demolished real estate prices, right? And the Fed doesn't want to do that. But if they have to do it, they will. And the have to can be because of American conditions, or it could be the rest of the world selling treasury bonds and just raising interest rates into the market. The rest of the world can force that to happen as well. And who knows for sure if that's going to happen, but real estate's definitely bubbled, right? And real estate overall, like it's not a straight up asset because you buy a house and now you got to pay to fix the roof. You got to pay taxes on the place. You got to pay to like keep it heated and cooled. I mean, there's upkeep cost on real estate. If real estate doesn't go up in value, it is a liability because it actually costs you money to maintain it, right? So real estate has to either be rented out or has to be going up in value to actually be an asset. And so if it's in a market where those are falling, then that's not a good thing, right? And I honestly think we're on the edge of a precipice of real estate possibly falling. So we'll have to just see.
Froggy0025 says some turnings allow 4 maze of if. Is that right? If here.
Yeah.
What do you think about running 4 berserk just to destroy the attacking creatures in combo with it?
So 4 berserk, I think, is a fantastic idea. So when I jumped into old school, I posted, I think I mentioned this on my last live stream. You guys might notice that the first decks that I designed in old school, the one was like Rug Crazies and the Turbo Stasis. What I looked for is there's differences in today's old school environment compared to the original time we played. Like Mana Drain, my cat's here. Mana Drain being restricted is a huge difference. And Berserk and Black Vice being unrestricted is also a huge difference. And so I assumed that old school was a mostly solved format. So what I tried to look for was places where decks can now exist that didn't exist before, because either you just straight up couldn't use the cards, or they were held back by 4 Mana Drain defense decks. So I tried to explore those areas that might be unexplored. And so 4 Berserks was one of the first ones I tried. And Berserk is amazing, guys. It's a 1 green instant that multiplies damage. Most of the time in Magic, you get addition, right? You do not multiply, you get addition. Multiplication is very different, right? And so that's one of the reasons that Rug Crazies deck is so fast, is Berserks can just get insane really quick. So it's one of my favorite, make sure the dog doesn't turn off the computer.
That'd be bad.
It's one of my favorite overall cards in old school. It's absolutely my favorite creature pumper. It's fantastic. There's a lot of room for abuse there in Berserks.
Bakaris asks, I see you have a Les Paul guitar Gibson Epiphone. What type of music do you listen to or play?
Good question. I listen to everything mostly. I play mostly classic rock. I really love playing like Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Pink Floyd kind of stuff. But you know, it's funny, like when I was in college, I got into a lot of finger picking type of songs, and I'll grow out my fingernails on my strumming hand just so I can pluck the strings. And so oftentimes when I go to play guitar, like I might start finger picking, but then by the end, I've got distortion turned on and I'm like playing like some AC/DC or something like that. So I'm kind of all over the map. I have one video where I actually, I guess 2 videos where I actually play guitar. One of them was a straight up guitar video. And then on the other one, I'm actually finger picking at the start of a video. The one that was like story time, I'm finger picking something at the start. And then another one, I'm actually playing like some classic rock songs on one of my electric guitars. But yeah, I love that Les Paul. That's such a great guitar.
Jeremy asks, Edwin, what is your current view take on proxy cards for people who want to play old school or vintage but simply cannot afford the cards?
So, Jeremy, you must be new. I love proxies. I absolutely support proxies. And I'm evangelizing the rest of the old school community to support them as much as I possibly can. And I honestly think proxies are the way to bring these 2 warring factions, the players and the collectors, right? They seem to like hate each other, and they say all these negative things towards each other. And both sides have their reasons to not like proxies. And this has been a topic for decades, right? I honestly believe proxies are the solution to bring these two warring factions together, because the collectors are afraid that proxies are going to drop card value. And they also don't like the thought of cards they've spent so much money on, other people just getting to play for free. But I find that they don't drop value. Proxies bring people in, and when more people play, it's for the same reason, you guys, people want beta cards and not unlimited. It's the same reason why people want foils and not standard cards. Everybody wants the cards. They want the real stuff, right? You play because you have a proxy, but everyone wants the real card. So proxies bring people in, but then they all eventually upgrade, which brings up the prices of those cards. So proxies help the collectors, and the players actually get to play. So I literally think it is the solution. People have assumptions about it, and I'm doing everything I can to get people to realize that proxies should be supported more than they are.
Petra's question's funny.
Oh, okay.
So how do I convince my wife to buy me a chaos orb for Christmas? She's watching the stream right now, so please plead to her. Okay, so Pedro's wife. This is directly for you, and my wife can echo this because I've said it too. We'll see.
It feels very weird when your husband says, "Sweetie, I want to spend hundreds of dollars on this piece of paper, this old piece of cardboard," right? I assume that's the main restriction. Like, you're crazy. You want to spend all this money on a card? Okay. A diamond is just a rock, right? Hey, no. Gold is just a metal, right? It's just a chunk of metal. The Babe Ruth card is just a piece of paper, right? Here's the reality on it. Everything in this planet is worth what someone else is willing to pay for it. That's the truth of life. Everything is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. People get their minds so stuck on the thought of, why would I spend hundreds of dollars on this piece of cardboard because I want a house, or I want a diamond, or I want this thing. You're looking at it wrong. I mean, if I had a rotten orange, right, I could take a rotten orange and I could put it in a movie, and I could let Tom Cruise hold it, and then I could put it on eBay and say, this was the orange that Tom Cruise was holding in this movie, and people will bid it up to thousands of dollars, right? And the truth is that orange is worth thousands of dollars because you got multiple people bidding on it. So you got to get that viewpoint in your head, is that everything in this world is worth what people are willing to pay for it. Now, for Magic specifically, you've got this old stuff. It was protected by the reserve list, this whole legal thing, and he can explain to you what that is. But there's legal protection around it. There's a massive amount of people around the world that we're all nerds, and we all want those. So the value is honestly pretty stable. And you can look back 25 years and see how the price has gone up and remains stable. So you're not throwing your money away. It's a pretty solid investment. And how many times, honestly, how many times can you buy something that is possibly a really good investment, that's a fun thing to actually use, right? You actually get use out of it and joy out of it. You get to spend time with like friends, interacting with people about it, right? I mean, there's not a lot of places in life where all these things cross paths, and they do with Magic cards. So I would say for people who don't care about Magic, that's like a good way to look at it. It's not money being thrown away. You're buying something that's going to hold its value or possibly go up, and it's going to make your husband really happy.
Can I give a little piece of the
Okay, yeah, come on in.
No, I don't want to come in.
Oh, come on.
No.
Okay.
Pedro, what helps with Eddie and I is that we'll make a deal. Like, he can get whatever it is Magic card he wants, but then I get to have this. But it has to be of kind of equal value, or it keeps going up.
Yeah, we'll do that. So yeah, I'll give a good example on that one. So like, I'm the only income in the family, and so since Holly does this amazing job, holding down the house, which she wanted, and we both agree on, that's our little deal. I look at all the money I make is our money. So say like I get a bonus from work, say I get like a $2,000 bonus, right? Well, when I bring that home, I'll literally split that in half, and she gets half and I get half, and then we get to go each buy our thing. Of course, I'll go buy Magic cards, and then she goes buys the things that she actually wants. So yeah, it's just a viewpoint that we look at. So that's kind of like the kind of deal she's talking about. That we'll agree that we each get to go get our thing, and I'm always buying magic with it.
Yep. So the price goes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Derek Rushing asks, I am too late to the party to get 4. What does that say?
Jazam.
Jin. Okay.
I've heard what people call it. It's actually called Whoozam. That was new to me. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I have these names. I have
Suchis. Yep.
And Juggernauts. Is there anything else that could be plugged in to replace Jazams in Mono Black?
Okay, Derek, yes. I've owned Jazam a few times in my career. I think I had it like one of them back in college. Then I had 2 of them later on. Then I sold those. People love them. He's a great creature. He's a fatty. He comes out quick with dark rituals and he just beats people down. Great creature, but I've never been huge into it. And it's not because he's not good. It's because I've always been able to work around him. I've always been able to find a way to shift the deck around ever so slightly and still have an effective deck that didn't have Jazam Jin. And that's honestly the way I look at it. He's super rare, which is one of the reasons why he's so expensive. And people really love him. He's kind of like an iconic card in old school. And those things drive up his value. But absolutely, there's replacements. Juggernaut is absolutely a replacement. Ernam Jin is a replacement. Suchi is for sure a replacement. Serendib Efreet is for sure a replacement. There's an awful lot of ways you can go. And so he's a great creature. But yeah, absolutely, you can work around not having Jazams and be just fine.
It might be better if we start taking questions from the bottom now and up because it's really laggy and stuff. So then we can just work back up.
So why don't we do that? And then as I'm answering ones in the bottom, you can look up and see if there's big ones.
Carl asks, question. What is the guitar jamming? When is the I can't talk. When is the guitar jamming videos coming out? Now that I know you enjoy old school rock as well.
So Carl, I made one video playing guitar, and like almost nobody watched it. It was like one of my most unpopular videos, and that was really sad because the whole purpose of this channel, it's not a magic channel. This channel is Edwin the Magic Engineer. That's me, and it's my hobbies. And so I wanted to share all of my hobbies with people around the world, and that included finance and guitar and electronics and RC cars. But very unfortunately, some of the other hobbies that I shared, like nobody seemed to be interested in. So, you know, that was really sad, actually. So, I mean, if enough interest comes up, if people want guitar videos, I mean, I'll totally do it. You know what I did think about doing? I thought about actually taking like a famous song, changing the words around, to make it like Magic the Gathering related and like play and sing it and just make it funny or something. So I've totally thought about doing that. So maybe that'd be a fun one to actually do.
Tristan just gave you $2.
Thanks, Tristan. I think he's the guy last time they gave us money. What did he say? He said something on that. How long until I see this? Yeah. 9:21. So yeah, I just saw that. We skipped a bunch of questions and went down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, Melissa said, "What's the cat's name?" Our cat's name is Esther, just like the biblical character, the princess, the Queen Esther.
Yeah. Okay, so since we're going from the bottom now, okay, here you go. So
somebody said, "Where did I get the ancestral print in the background?" On my Instagram feed, you can see the day I got it. I went to a Grand Prix that was in Houston, Texas, when we lived there, and I saw Mark Poole there in person. And also his manager as well. So I got to meet the guy, chat with him a bit, and I bought 2 Giclées. I bought the Ancestral Recall and the Library of Alexandria, and I took my picture with them, and I posted those pictures on Instagram when I got them. So that's when and where.
Yeti said, appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
People are saying thanks for answering their questions. Do you play Legacy or Modern?
Legacy, yes. I've played a decent amount of Legacy in the past. I haven't for a little bit, but it's only because I've discovered old school, and I'm just super into old school, and I have just tiny bits of time. But I love Legacy. And then Modern, I kind of avoid, not because it's not a great format. If I didn't have all the old cards, I'd probably play Modern. But Modern seems to have meted itself into like a hole. There's like these weird decks that would not exist like anywhere else.
He also wanted to know what decks have you played or still have.
For Legacy?
Yes. Or
I like Legacy lands an awful lot because I love those control decks and I love all the lands that are in them. The decks that I played in Legacy when I was doing it, they kind of like don't really exist. I mean, now when I look, I see all these Baleful Strix decks and all these black-blue decks with like just like only a couple dual lands and a lot of fetches and stuff. So I've been outside of Legacy so much that the meta has evolved, and the decks that I used to play, like you kind of don't see them in there anymore. So I don't know, maybe I'm going to take a break here from old school for a bit and start doing some Legacy videos, but I at least want to get some mid-range old school deck techs out there first.
Well, Cars wants to know how much do you think is the value of your entire collection?
I just posted a video about that real recently, actually. If you look back on the recent history, you'll see videos have these big kind of yellow splashes. And actually, I showed the Echo MTG price of my collection. Now, having said that, the price showed was only 2,000 out of 35,000 cards that are price tracked. So of course that's off. But the Echo MTG, those 2,000 cards, they're overestimated because it assumes like near mint prices for all of them. And my cards are not all near mint. So it's an overestimation. But then again, the other 33,000 cards in my collection are not in that price. So if you take the overestimation of those 2,000 plus the other ones that aren't in it, it probably is about what that video says, which is around 120, I think.
Warren Briggs says, "Hey boss, how you doing?" I don't know if you know him.
Warren Briggs. Show me the picture.
Right there. Hey boss, how you doing?
Pretty good, Warren. How's it going?
Mitch says, question for Edwin. What was the substitution you made for Citadel Druid in your green budget deck?
So when I took out the Centennial Druid, I put in the Pixies, Argothian Pixies. And actually, Brian Weissman, we were talking with each other at GP Vegas after the Old School Championship. I took second there, which was great. And Brian and I, we played a match, and then we were talking afterwards, and I have a video I put it on my channel, and Brian and I talking. He suggested I put Suchis in the deck, and he suggested the Argothian Pixies because they're both better at the Mishra's Factory War. I tried them both. The Suchis ended up being terrible in my deck, not because Suchi is terrible, but because my deck left people without disenchants. You know, their disenchants were kind of wasted against my deck. But as soon as I put the Suchis in there, suddenly their disenchants became useful. And I kept on getting them just blown up and taking mana burn. And I also took out the Centennial Druids and put in the Argothian Pixies. And that was iffy. That could have gone either way because the Druids are great because people would hold their Moxes and Soul Rings. They wouldn't play them because otherwise the Druids would get big. So the Druids really had a good reason to be there. But the Pixies were kind of better most of the time against Mishra's Factories. So it's kind of a give and a take, honestly.
Thick Rick says, why is Gamora? I don't know what that means.
Show me where it says it.
Right there.
Is Gamora in here somewhere? Sorry, I'm not sure what the Gamora reference is.
I don't know. I don't see anyone named that.
Okay.
Anyway, Tom asks, any chance of you opening any booster packs to finish up your videos celebrating your success?
You want me to open a booster pack right now on live stream? I can do that. Yeah, give me a sec.
And Dylan asked, do you know you married up? I don't know if he's talking to me or you.
I think he's talking to me. Okay, guys, if you want me to open a booster pack, this is what I've got. So you guys type into the comments what you want me to open, and I'll open one of these. If any of you guys want me to open something. So I'm going to leave this up on the screen for a sec. Just tell me which booster pack you want me to open.
They're saying revised.
Revised? Okay, I'll leave it up for a few more minutes, see if I get more votes.
What's the fifth one they're asking?
The fifth one?
To the left or the right?
This one? This is Lorwyn, Unglued, then Revised, and then Urza's Legacy.
Mostly revised.
Fallen Empires. The reflection was big on that. And then the Dark and Tempest.
Someone's asking, is that a Homelands pack?
No, no Homelands in there.
Okay, so I'm seeing mostly revised.
Revise?
Oh, and a couple unglues.
Okay, the dark.
And
Okay,
the
I'll
dark.
wait a few more minutes so people can get their votes in, what they want me to open. Are there any other questions that I missed?
Are you going to be up in GP New Jersey?
Oh gosh, I sure wish I could. Sure. If I'm going to travel, it's probably going to be to an old school event somewhere. But if I have a lot of friends going to a GP, I might go do that.
Jeremy says, so the overall synopsis of the live stream is that we should all invest our life savings in Homelands, Fallen Empires, and Dragon's Maze.
I did not say that. Don't do that.
A couple people had to leave.
Okay, yeah, we're at 37. We'll probably end this here. Like, so this would be a good way to stop.
Okay.
Because the numbers are going down.
I think we got most of the questions.
Okay.
Sorry if I missed you. Oh, Carl asked Coke or Pepsi.
Most of the time, Coke. Yeah, most of the time. The question is, do you call it pop or do you call it soda? That's always the debate. My wife and I are on two different sides of that one.
If you're from Oregon, it's pop.
Okay, so it looks like most people said revised. So you guys want a revised pack opened? Okay, so let's do that. Do you want to do it?
No.
Oh, come on. Okay, come on, do it on camera.
No.
Oh, come on, sweetie. Okay, fine. She's gonna yell at me. You told me not to get on camera. Okay, so here we go. The revised pack. Oh, my fingernails to mess it up. Okay, red word. Tunnel. Troll. Oh, I think that's my rare. Cockatrice. I think that's. Isn't he? I think that's the rare. I know, right? What a name.
Sorry.
What a name. Actually, I'll just do this with all these last ones. Look at those lands. Isn't it crazy that they got lands in the packs? Wow. Cockatrice. I wanted a dual land, right?
Not Cockatrice. Okay, Derek asks, where do you store your more expensive cards? I have mine in gun safes that have good heat ratings, but I am considering getting a safety deposit box for some of them. You know,
we do actually have several safes, and I do put my cards in safes, especially when we travel or go somewhere. But you know what's funny is like I'm using the cards so often that it's like I'll have them like in a special spot where like I can grab them quickly for playing. But like a lot of time, yeah, we'll put them in a safe, in like a nice thick heavy safe.
Sorry.
What?
I'm still laughing at Cockatrice.
The Cockatrice. I know. Can you believe they named a card that?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's probably
Melissa
a good.
Says pop in Canada. Good job, Melissa. That's right. It's pop.
Okay. So that's probably a good spot to end the video. Will you come in to say goodbye to everybody with me?
Oh my God.
Just to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Okay. Thanks everybody for joining the live stream. This was a lot of fun, and thank you everyone for the comments and everything. Now, last time I tried to repost the video and have everyone's comments show up. I don't know why it didn't. I'm still trying to figure out the interface. So, and we'll have to just see how I can hopefully get all the comments to list as well with the video. So anyways, thanks everyone for showing up.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great night.